It's January 8th, 2025, and we're going to be doing business and social today. And I'm drinking tea so that I will maybe regain my voice.
Well, this has been long fought, but actually last public domain day, which was last year, Steamboat Willie. He joined us. You can make whatever content you want with Mickey, as long as it's specifically that version of Mickey. If it looks anything like the new Mickey, don't try to do that. But this year, we have some new entries.
Look at that. The skeleton dance, the Marx Brothers coconuts.
The biggest one, Popeye.
Oh.
If you got some Popeye fanfic on the shelf, been waiting to take advantage of that, now's the time. And 1010, I was not a 1010 fan as a kid. I don't know what that is.
The one that always blew my mind was Sherlock Holmes. And because Sherlock Holmes hasn't fully entered the public domain, like this look at how crazy this is. The stories about Sherlock Holmes in the beginning were like Sherlock Holmes was like cold and analytical. He's basically an android. And then later he got more emotional and, like he warmed up. And so if you make stories about Sherlock Holmes, it has to be the early Sherlock Holmes, not the later one, which is still protected by copyright because the character evolved. It's like, that's an interesting take on copyright.
And we still have some sort of year in review stories that are trickling out. This one's a little bit older, but boy, does it tell a dramatic story.
Silicon Valley's turn of fortune. Intel has its worst year ever while Broadcom enjoys record gain. Yeah, if you just look at the dollars, Broadcom's going to make a lot of money. They got a lot of unhappy customers. They don't really. They do from the VMware side of things. But VMware is making a lot of money on the. They've been able to monetize what they have well. Meanwhile, Intel is struggling a little bit, which is too bad because Intel's new 128 core processors are actually really good.
And the battle lines have been drawn in Washington, and one man is on one side of it. So now the mainstream media needs to be on the other side of it.
Tesla replaces laid-off U.S. workers with foreigners using visas pushed by Musk, according to this report. This is an MSN article. So there was a huge kerfuffle about H-1B visas that we reported on last week, and someone dug into it, and so there's a lot of mainstream media reports coming out now, and it doesn't look good because it's almost 1-to-1. It's within 1,000. It's like 69,000 to 68,300 and some or something like that. So they laid off almost as many people as they hired via H-1B. And then Musk also is not, like, his lawyers really should not let him post on Twitter, but he posted things on Twitter like, well, yeah, we had to fire a bunch of Americans because they're stupid. And it's like,
Remember when he was legally bound to have his lawyers confirm his tweets? And he never did. He never got in trouble for it either. But yeah, all of his arguments that no, the H-1B visa system is not this, it's something else, flies in the face of this evidence.
Yeah, it sure does, doesn't it?
This must have been a Krista ad. I didn't read this one.
This one, I saw this. A research team stunned after unexpectedly discovering new method to break down plastic. The plastic is gone, all gone. And so they're patenting a method. That's the only reason this is here is because we're gonna know exactly what it is in the patent application. But I'm very sus of this because apparently it doesn't require some expensive catalyst, which is one of the reasons why plastic is basically not recycled. And so this may mean that PET is infinitely recyclable, like aluminum, which would be great.
But they say it's gone. That defies physics. What does it become?
More raw materials that can be made into plastic again.
Oil?
Yeah, a petroleum product, yeah. PET.
I should read the articles. I forgot to. She did not. You know what? She did not background color that one in the list, which is what you do when you do a late ad.
I don't remember. I might have been the one to add that one. I don't remember though. I remember reading that because I was like, that was everywhere. That was like on Hacker News and everywhere. And I was like, oh, this is really exciting. And you read it, and it's like, this is probably just fluff.
We got a battery story this week too.
Yeah, we do.
I added that one. What was this one? Yeah. Oh, yeah. So the GPU wars, obviously, China wants powerful chips. We won't let them have them. They've been doing little games to get around it. Where does the cloud land in all of this?
ByteDance plans to sidestep U.S. sanctions by renting Nvidia GPUs in the cloud. Report says it has set aside a $7 billion budget. Yeah. So, but this is, I think the article, this is the wrong takeaway from this. I mean, okay, yeah, we'll use the cloud to sidestep it. But I was like, look, if the U.S. is afraid of China building something that is a tool of oppression or, is weaponizable or whatever, China's kind of right. The hardware doesn't matter once you get it trained. So they've got their own hardware that's not as good, but it's good enough. The real munition being developed here is the software. It has nothing to do with the hardware. Well, a little bit to do with the hardware, but it's mostly the software. So if China's like, well, we don't need to own the hardware. We don't need to own the cow to use the milk to build the nukes.
Now you might be thinking, well, the U.S. and Europe clouds are going to be restricted, right? Couldn't we just keep them out of that? And yes, you can, but the Middle East and some other Asian countries who can get those chips are going to be happy to put a China cloud up and let them use it for a small fee. And a small fee will actually be quite a large fee if you want this. We don't know how much yet, but the timing is interesting because this is going to be January 21st. How quickly do the tariffs kick in?
The timing on this is so awkward. Nvidia RTX 5080 rumored to hit shelves on January 21st, expected to debut at CES with sales embargo reportedly lifting 2 weeks later. So, yeah, new GPUs from Nvidia. Now, by the time you're watching this, Nvidia will have had their keynote, which I haven't seen. I don't know anything about it yet. So there is other separate news that we will cover next week on whatever they announced. But in order to know like the ground truth reality, you're not going to know until almost the end of January, which doesn't give you a lot of time to decide if you're going to try to sidestep the tariffs.
Also, only the 5080 has been announced. Nothing else. They haven't given timelines on anything else. And will 2025 be the year of onshoring? That's supposedly the purpose of the tariffs, right? If you bring manufacturing back, is that going to work better than the CHIPS Act?
Micron to invest $2.7 billion to expand U.S.-based memory production. It's working out pretty good so far for TSMC, although we'll have a story later about how a lot of the people at Arizona TSMC are, Oh, there it is. 50% of TSMC's Arizona employees are from Taiwan, despite recent controversies. Company plans to hire more U.S. workers over time. So, again, another Tom's Hardware story, but this is a pretty good one.
More U.S. workers, yeah, but are they going to be janitors? I mean, TSMC has been very vocal about not liking the American work ethic in their, high-paying jobs. We'll see. And here's one that we're all probably going to feel because in order to keep up, if AI continues on its current trajectory, everybody's going to have one of these in their backyard, and we're all going to suffer from this.
AI data centers reportedly cause power problems in residential areas, decrease power quality in homes near data centers, causes reduced lifespan for electrical appliances. This is Dominion Electric. I have some telemetry from Dominion Electric, and I can tell you quantitatively that power quality has gone down significantly.
So they detail how that happens and how it's bad for your electronics to be a part of that and how data centers are causing it. And necessarily throwing more and more power at this doesn't help that much. And it also points out that we are not the priority customers when it comes to power.
Yeah, I read this and I was looking because I have data on this. And I was like, oh, they'll build up the infrastructure. And increasingly, I'm pessimistic that they're not. And you're just going to be on your own. So you really probably should start looking at like bypass transfer switches for your house and, like a power wall type solution that won't burn your house down and solar as supplemental. Because if you don't DIY it, no one is going to come and help you probably.
And you're comparing residential business, which is like maybe you use more this month and less next month, and maybe you don't pay your bill, get disconnected, versus a data center who's solid and always pays.
It pays up front sometimes.
So that's a no-brainer if you're selling power. That's the customer you want. But this company is desperate for customers No one wants what they have. Everybody wants power. No one wants this.
According to TechSpot, Apple has stopped Vision Pro production amid weak demand and customer dissatisfaction. Super high price and lack of compelling apps is also a bad combination, they say. Yeah, this is Captain Obvious. It states the obvious.
It was obvious before they did it. What a bad idea that was.
I got about 10 minutes of hands-on time with one. And the first thing that I noticed that it was heavy. And the second thing that I noticed was it really was damned impressive. Like, I don't like Apple, but it was a damned impressive piece of hardware. And then the third thing I noticed was my neck hurts.
And then you proceeded to not buy one.
Right, yeah.
Huh. And people are not buying phones in China, as we discussed yesterday. And everybody, the government's trying to get them involved. So is Apple.
Apple offers iPhone discounts in China as competition intensifies. I sort of alluded to this yesterday. But it's also true that China is trying to subsidize phones for more people to upgrade for existing phones and also to just get more people on the grid to use it for communication, payments, et cetera, et cetera. China thinks that if more people have, like, they did the digital cash initiative. They're really trying a lot of social experiments to get people to do more stuff with these devices and to be more digital. There's some resistance to that because of, some economic realities and other realities.
Well, there's one phone company that definitely wants you to buy their phone, but they don't want you to put any other unlicensed software from them on it. They've been they've been working hard on their Harmony OS, and you must not replace it.
Drastically reduces Xiaomi bootloader unlock policy, raises questions over device ownership. So this is really interesting. I did a lot of work on the Hikvision bootloader, which is weirdly obfuscated on some really old, at this point, IP cameras. And there was some not good stuff in there, in my opinion. And this to me seemed like a lot of the same kind of thing. Like, the bootloader doesn't need to be this obfuscated. The bootloader doesn't need these features. Like, why would you add this to the bootloader? And like you say, it's like, do they not want you to use the software because there's some secondary reason, or is it because there's other stuff they don't want you to see?
I don't think they want you to put Android on it.
Well,
I think that's it. I think it all comes down to that. We want to keep you on and I think the Chinese government probably wants you on that OS as well. Now, I saw this headline. A lot of places reported on this headline because it's a great clickbait. And I was ready for tiny, tiny little goggles on mice. And I was like, that was going to be an adorable picture. I was disappointed.
Mice headsets make it easier to study brain response to visual reality. So they're using watch faces, so insanely high-resolution watch faces. And the article says that the mouse's head is fixed in position, which is not. I feel really bad for the mouse.
This is our future.
Yeah. The mouse runs around this spherical trackball. And they apparently have tapped directly into its visual cortex to be sure that it is seeing what they intend for it to see, and confirmed that it is seeing what they intend for it to see. So there you go. They're able to simulate reality enough for the mouse that it responds to it like it's reality. It probably knows.
I kind of feel that.
Yeah.
I feel that right now. And Tesla is, they got some bad press for the Cybertruck pretty much all year long. And then we had the explosive end to the year to remind us that it exists. But there's one thing that they have not been advertising.
Tesla is secretly recalling Cybertruck batteries. I don't know. This seemed like they were trying to make a bigger deal out of this than it is. But
they only had two examples, but these two guys reported taking their Tesla in for routine maintenance, and it was supposed to take I think 2 days, and then 2 weeks later they had no car, and they called and they were like, hey, what's going on? And because they update the app or whatever, and it said replacing main battery because of side dent or something like that, and one guy actually got somebody on the phone and they were like, oh yeah, some of those batteries have a dent in the side and they might catch fire, so we're replacing the entire battery on your
neat
phone. Which is very expensive. But this is not a recall, because if it were, then everybody could take theirs in and get it, and it's not being offered to everybody.
Or at least check to see if your battery has the dent.
That would probably be a good thing, right? And I think this is, again, a very anti-Musk headline from AP. because he's hated right now. But this is a very small number, and lots of car companies suffer this kind of thing. Plus, the economy is down.
The AP headline is Tesla sales dropped 1.1% in 2024. Its first annual decline in a dozen years. Oh, it's the end of Tesla. Except it's not really, because a lot of other manufacturers have declined significantly.
They're having their industry day. I think it's coming up in January, February. So people are worried. It's like, oh, does this mean we're going to get bad guidance? And here's our pie-in-the-sky battery story. We kick off 25 with one of these.
Korea unleashes a fireproof EV battery that holds 87% power after 1,000 cycles.
So it's better than lithium?
And it's lithium ion. Or no?
No, it's it's solid state lithium rather than liquid.
Can we get this in the crystalline format that we talked about last week? Because that would be like perfect. You get 10,000 cycles.
The way I understood it, there's like a soft layer, a hard layer, and then another soft layer. So the tendrils, the dendrites like the soft layer doesn't destroy the battery as much with that. But then the hard layer, if there's a breach, will immediately quell the fire. And the robots have taken over, and more we find that we have to prove we are not a robot. How do you do that? This might be one of the more novel ways.
The TechCrunch has this story. It's like you can play Doom and kill 3 monsters as a CAPTCHA.
And they actually have the playable CAPTCHA here. I think is that an image or? Oh no, that's an image. They could have embedded that.
It is. That's amazing because AI has gotten so good at solving CAPTCHAs.
They point out that I don't think my parents could kill 3 monsters in Doom. Like they would just be lost here. That'd be fun to watch though.
That was I was floored when I figured out that Microsoft and OpenAI have agreed that general artificial intelligence is achieved when OpenAI is making $100 billion a year on AI products. That's the benchmark.
I don't agree with that. I think that's not the case.
I know, but I don't think that's general artificial intelligence either. But on some level, I could see like the monetary argument for that is like when you have a piece of software that can just generate $100 billion a year at arbitrary things. Okay, maybe.
Yeah, but if at that point, because of artificial intelligence, the price of a loaf of bread is $10 million, then maybe not that impressive.
Yeah, it does look like we're going into the, like, remember what happened in the 80s with the automobile industry when we're like, we should add tariffs so that it's harder to import cars from Japan. It's like, that did not work out for us.
Well, a lot of things aren't what they seem in the modern world.
Over 3.1 million fake stars on GitHub projects used to boost rankings. Yeah, it turns out gamifying the whole stars thing. Like, how popular is this thing on GitHub? Like, it turns out it's pretty popular.
You got that one?
Yeah. Both the Tesla that exploded, was part of a thing, don't know, and the New Orleans truck driver used an a car rental app called Turo. And we're not really sure what the connection is between that. Even the FBI press conference this morning are like, we're aware of that. But
probably just one of the more anonymous ways you can get a car, right?
Yeah. Because the FBI, like, there's a lot we probably can't talk about because the Cybertruck one is crazy. Because, like, the guy had a gunshot wound to the head and his body was supercharged. Supercharged.
Because it was a Tesla.
Elmo says that it's not capable of self-driving, but Elmo has not said, I pulled the logs and confirmed that it was not in self-driving mode. There's a lot of really suspicious stuff.
Well, it's a new year, and one thing that you will not be doing if you are in 17 states of the union at this point, or actually I guess we're up to 20 now because it says joins the 17, is visiting this website.
The 404 Media has, this adult website is now blocked in all of the U.S. South because you have to verify your age, which requires them to actually verify your age.
That'll be Florida, Tennessee, and South Carolina. I thought Florida was already on the list. Maybe not.
They might have got to stay. This is a slippery slope. I
think we're still on the list, right?
Yeah. So VPN searches went through the roof. You can check that out on Google Public Analytics. Google's like, how do I get a VPN in Florida? But it's, how have we gotten to a point as a society where it's like, I don't agree with this. I would like to speak up against this. And it's like, oh, if you speak up against this, you're going to be demonized. And it's like, well, I guess I'll just look for a VPN then.
Now, remember the times, or innocent times, when the idea of your phone listening to your conversations was a conspiracy theory? Remember that? Yeah. Remember how people were looked down on for saying that, and the media was just took the line of like, that's crazy.
I remember the Barbie Dreamhouse episode that we did, and that was like one of our best engagement episodes ever, because people are still replying to that. Like, I watched this, and now all of my stuff is suggesting Barbie Dreamhouse. It's amazing.
Well, it was real. How do we know?
Apple to pay $95 million to settle Siri privacy lawsuit. And this was Apple. Apple, the champion of individual privacy, that you all keep telling us that Apple is like this bastion of reasonable activity and reasonable actions, is going to settle this for $95 million because it was listening all the time. I just note this here. Like, this is, again, level 1 told you so.
And they had really, really good evidence. They did the due diligence. They laid it all out to the tune of Apple was just like, no, pay to make this go away.
Remember how Apple gaslit and was like, no, this is not a thing that we do. And it turns out, actually it is a thing.
And so did Google. Yeah. Everybody did.
And Amazon and Siri. And I love the Siri... not Siri. I love the Alexa brain slug project, where the brain slug is just feeding noise into Alexa until you turn the brain slug off with a different hot word. That's amazing. Yeah, that's a level of adversarial technology that the individual needs, and they don't realize it.
I prefer the solution of not buying Alexa, because you're still enabling by buying it. And stream fatigue. What is stream fatigue? Well, stream fatigue is an easier way of saying we're all poor. No one can afford this.
The headline is The Warp, or from The Warp, is the stream fatigue. Americans spend 23% less on streaming services in 2024, study finds. Americans have figured out that they can take their DVDs and their VHS tapes and stick them on a giant 20 terabyte hard drive and just rewatch their favorite shows for zero cost. And the copyright cartel would like to put you in jail for that, or charge you millions of dollars because, you're a filthy pirate or whatever, even though you own the media. But yeah, Americans are figuring out, I don't need to pay for Netflix to watch my old episodes of Next Gen, which they don't even have anymore.
Apparently 2. The average is most people have 2, which is too many, honestly. Yeah. Also, your Star Trek conditioned brain rewrote. Do you see what you did there?
What?
The warp.
Oh, the rap. Look at that. I did. Yeah. I'm still not firing all cylinders.
And, oh yeah, a name that we probably shouldn't say, because more and more, every utterance of this is being memory holed and shut down. Gosh, I wonder why.
The New York Post has a headline talking about this online betting site that has shut down betting on the fate of the alleged assassin guy that was in a large East Coast U.S. city. Because you can bet on what's going to happen. It's wild to me, also, I'll just throw this out there, that there's certain individuals that have been charged as a terrorist and other people that have not been charged as a terrorist despite blowing up their car. And the mayor was like, oh, this is clearly like meant to intimidate and threaten people, and that's terroristic. And the FBI was like, no, that's not what that is.
If you take the 3, one definitely doesn't cause me terror.
Yeah. On a scale, it's weird. It's really weird.
Positive.
The one, wasn't one of them flying a flag? What was that about? I don't. Why aren't we talking about that? Why did that need to be kept secret? Are we not adults? Can we not look at things and react badly?
Now this harkens back to Polymarket, which is a crypto-based betting thing,
which we probably shouldn't even say.
You can still do this for now. I think they're not based in the U.S. maybe, but. It goes back to the election, where people were very, very upset that the betting was showing a certain outcome for the election, and they felt like that would influence the population.
Yeah.
And something tells me, I didn't actually get to look at this, and the New York Post I don't think said the numbers, but I'm thinking that the betting probably pointed really hard in one direction.
Yeah. I mean, juries, if you're on a jury, it's like, oh, the law says you have to do this. The law, yeah, well, no.
It does not say that. The jury instructions that they give you are probably not totally accurate because you can do whatever you want. That is one of your freedoms as an American.
This is not reason. This person was not in a reasonable situation. This was not a reasonable act, but the things that you've laid down here are also not reasonable, so I decline to participate.
No, don't decline to participate. Participate. And make sure bad things don't happen to good people. And California was one of the first states, they might have been the first ever, to decide that social media is literally bad for children and it was addictive. They went ahead and they're like, yes, we have decided it is that way and it needs to be taken care of.
Judge upholds California's ban on addictive fees for minors. The slight loophole here is, what exactly is an addictive feed for minors?
Well, they say anything that you're doing, I think outside of a calendar-based list, right?
Yeah.
Time sorted.
Which would literally be everything.
If it's not time sorted and just the default, like here's when this person posted this, then they consider that to be the algorithm. And it's not good. Can't have it for kids. You can't, actually, I take it back. You can have it if you have explicit parental consent. But like, is that a paper that you get them to sign and put on file? Because we don't have the system for that. Just keep your kids off social media. Jesus, it's bad for them. And TikTok takes another hit.
Venezuela's top court issues a $10 million fine for TikTok over allegedly deadly video challenges. They say the platform did not take enough steps to curtail sharing and algorithmic boosting of these videos because they turn deadly easily.
I like the Venezuelan court gear. It's got kind of a Star Trek feel to it, doesn't it?
Well, it's vaguely reminiscent of Encounter at Farpoint, where humanity's on trial. Kind of feels like, with all those orbs in New Jersey, kind of feels like humanity's on trial.
We need to get some color in our judicial robes.
Yeah.
Spice them up a little bit.
The first place I saw one of those orbs, also Encounter at Farpoint.
You think it's the same one?
Yeah, the queue, just here, it's like, well, we're getting started a little early.
Well, you should get started early on Friday when we're back with another episode.
Bye.